Welcome to the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm your coach, Alycia Darby. Today's episode is brought to you by the Pageant Interview Game Plan. This is my signature course where members go through a series of video modules to prepare for their pageant interview with a step-by-step system. It takes the guessing out of pageant interview, and it adds in some amazing support through our private Facebook group. Now, the Game Plan members are some of the most thoughtful and encouraging pageant women on the internet. So they are all in this private Facebook group. Enrollment for the Game Plan is open. So if this is something that you would be interested in becoming a part of, then you can check out all the details at winapageant.com/gameplan. That's where everything is posted there. Now, let's jump into today's training. I know you're gonna love it. So for 5 years before I really dug into pageant coaching, I was a career counselor on college campuses across the US, Pennsylvania, Illinois, California. And when a college student would come to do a mock interview, when they would leave, I would always give them a list of questions that they were most likely to be asked in a real job interview. And the reason was because I didn't want the very first time that they ever heard these questions was to be in the actual interview room, okay? So today, I'm going to share with you the top 5 questions that you can totally expect to be asked in your pageant interview. Now, I'm going to help you actually develop your own answer by giving you some sample answers to really get your creative juices flowing, okay? Now listen, the point of this is not so that you will memorize a bunch of answers to every question under the sun, okay? That's not the point of this. Instead, what I want you to do is have an opportunity to get to know yourself in a variety of different ways and really do some self-reflection in the comfort of your own home before you are asked these questions under pressure. Question number 1 that you will probably be asked in your pageant interview is something along the lines of, "Tell me about yourself." Now, this is the most common request, okay? It's not really a question, so I'm gonna call it a request. But the goal of this is to really get a snapshot understanding of the highlights of your life and your values. So to answer this question, I want you to think about the highlights that relate to the situation that you're in, okay? So if you're in a job interview, you're gonna wanna share highlights about your education and your job experience. And if you are in a pageant, you're going to want to share elements of maybe community service, public speaking, your platform, of course, maybe your education and personal values, okay? Now, here's the key. Do not go into too much detail here. Keep it light, keep it organized chronologically so that they can follow what it is you're saying, and keep it focused on the highlights, okay? So I want to give you an example of this. I'm making all this information up totally, okay? So this is something that you might say. This is for a Mrs. contestant. My undergraduate and master's degree are both in engineering. I now live in Virginia with my husband, Carl, who also happens to be an engineer. And we have 3 boys under age 7 who love Legos and roller coasters, and they love science. So my platform actually was developed naturally as we were helping our boys to develop an appreciation for physics. And now my husband and I host weekend workshops through our church for kids of all ages because we want them to engage in fun engineering related activities with the future hope of really fostering a love for STEM. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how to go about that first question. Now, here's question number 2. Why did you enter this pageant? Now, this could be asked like, why do you want to win, or what made you decide to compete, or what do you love about pageantry? The goal of this is to really better understand your motivation and your view on pageants. So do not answer this question like some corny pageant girl, okay? Don't be like, oh, I want to be a role model, I want to impact the world. Like, okay, we get that, and those things may be a part of it, but that's not unique enough for you to stand out. So instead, start with your true motivation. So figure out, why did I really do this pageant? And then ask yourself why 4 times, all the way until you get to the real answer. Okay, I do this with my clients all the time. It works like magic, okay? Let me give you an example. Let's say that your motivation is just because you wanted to perform your talent, you wanted to dance in front of a huge audience. Why? Well, to challenge myself, to perform under the spotlight, and to communicate my emotions under pressure. Why? To hone skills in my public presentation and my performance. Why? To become a better public speaker and a better communicator. But why? Because ultimately, I want to impact more people. So if that is your story, then your answer ultimately to why do you want to win would be something along the lines of impacting people through speaking and communication skills. Okay, do you see how this is working? Let me give you another example. This is a motivation that I often hear, so I'm going to drill down in this one. A motivation could be that you just want to prove to everybody that you can win. Why is that important? You might say, because everybody thinks that I'm not good enough to win a pageant. Well, why is that? Well, because I don't typically look like the normal girl who wins a pageant. Well, why is that? Well, gee, I guess it's because I've never done a pageant before and no one in my family has, and they don't really know anything else about it. Well, why? Well, this is the first time that someone in my family actually took interest in pageantry. Okay, so if this is your story, then your answer to why do you want to win should be something about stepping into your own passions and outside of what your family has always done in the past or what people see in you, that you want to try to create something new. See, when you answer this question from a really real place, it is so much more meaningful and it's powerful for you to stand in your truth. The judges are going to notice that. Okay, so let's go to question number 3. What will you do if you win this pageant? So this could be asked like, what do you plan to do during your year? Or what are your goals as Miss Title Holder? What's the first thing that you're going to do when you win? Okay, you've probably heard that one before, and girls are like, oh, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger or something. Listen, the goal of this question is to understand your intention and your depth of thoughtfulness. So if you're like, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger, they're not going to see that that's like a fluffy answer. Don't do that, because it's not going to really communicate your depth of seriousness with the pageant. So you're going to actually have to come up with a real plan. Okay, something that moves your agenda forward with your personal mission and also that of the pageant. So my clients all develop a marketing plan because I want them to have a really impressive answer to this. And in fact, I encourage them to figure out a way to get it in. Okay, so you can create a plan of action to share with your judges by simply considering, how do you want to be during your year? What do you see as your end goal? And then how are we going to take action? Okay, so for example, you might say something like, during my year, I'm going to visit all 11 Children's Miracle Network hospitals because I want to host my video talent show with all of them to give the children in those hospitals the opportunity to showcase their best talents and share their stories of inspiration. I've already reached out to 3 of those hospitals and I set a date for the video experience. Something as simple as that, but really, really get specific, okay? All right, number 4. What is your biggest weakness? They may also ask you, what is something that you're not good at? Or what are you currently struggling with? Or what are you learning to do right now? Okay, all kind of getting to the same thing. The goal of this is to see if you are self-aware, if you are even open to personal growth and constructive feedback, okay? So do not answer with a strength and then play it off like a weakness, okay? Like, oh, I'm just such a perfectionist. Everything has to be great, okay? They can see right through that crap, okay? Instead, get really honest with what you're not great at. We all have something. Become self-aware and then share it in a way that explains how you are managing that. Okay, so for me, it's cardinal direction. I get mixed up so easily when I'm like using a handwritten map, even where do I park? Did I go in the mall from the left or the right? Okay, it's so hard for me to give people directions. It's actually gotten to me into a trouble a few times. So I've learned how to always keep my phone charged so that I can use my GPS if I'm traveling somewhere and defer to somebody else who may have a better sense of direction. Okay, so share it honestly, but then explain how you're managing it. Okay, number 5, what is unique about you? Why should we choose you? What makes you stand out? Or what will you bring to this title that no one else will? Okay, those are kind of all lumped together. And the goal of this question is to make their job easy. It's to share the quality that you believe is the most important in a title holder. So do not answer with something that anyone else could say. Instead, be honest. As always, honesty is the best policy, but truly consider What is it? Something that you bring to the table that nobody else does? Is it your education or maybe your experience? Maybe you've got contacts of people that you could network with all around the world. Maybe you've got vast travel experience, or you're multilingual or multi-ethnic. Maybe you have just incredible platform engagement, okay? Think about what is your thing. Now, if you believe, for example, that flexibility and a lot of money to travel and to get around during your year are really important and that's going to help you stand out, and you've got both of those things, then here's an example of what you might say to this question. Well, I know the title of Miss So-and-so will require me to travel throughout the States quite regularly. My sister is a flight attendant and she's just signed me up as her buddy companion, so I fly for free. I'll be able to get really inexpensive airfare, if not free, to all the state pageants, and since I took a year off of work, I have complete flexibility of my time. So I will be able to stay in that state that I travel to after the pageant so that I can continue to promote my platform and host pageant workshops that will ultimately lead to more pageant contestants. See, you can have an awesome answer just like that by getting really clear on how you stand out. That's what this is all about, okay? So that is the top 5 pageant interview questions with some sample answers for you. Now remember, this is not about memorizing answers to all of these questions, okay? What it is about is just doing some thoughtful reflection to make sure that you know yourself well enough to be able to sell yourself and communicate that you are the best title holder. Now, I want to hear from you because I'm curious, what questions do you think are just absolutely vital to prepare for? Maybe you've gotten a question more than once that you'd like to share with other people too. So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below the video with your question, or find a question that someone else has already asked and maybe even practice answering that. Now, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and share this with a friend who you really think could use the help and encouragement, maybe even somebody that it's going to be applying for jobs, like doing job interviews, okay? Share it with them, and I'll see you on the next Win a Pageant Wednesday. Bye for now. Hey, I've got something for you. You know, in a pageant, the interview is notoriously the most nerve-wracking phase of competition. But it doesn't have to be. It's just that women keep making the same mistakes over and over and over in their preparation process, and no one's ever told them not to. Until now. I created a 3-part video training series for you, and it's called the 3 Rookie Pageant Interview Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. It's totally free, and it's going to walk you through how to avoid the common errors that everyone is making. Do you want it? Hop on over to freepageantcourse.com and I'll see you there.